Hi there. A bit earlier this week, I got a recommendation for this doll here on Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of Harry Potter, but I do like Mattel doll faces. Because, in my opinion, Mattel does have the best sculptors on the toy market, but actually, they never shine a light on them, which makes sense since I guess then they would be way more expensive. I don't know. I also bought this Luna Lovegood doll as an Amazon warehouse deal. Since I also really liked her sculpt, I also would like to use the clothing of both dolls on my licca-chan dolls. So I'm mainly interested in their heads and their clothes, but still I would like to give you a good overview over both dolls, what has changed over the last 5 years, because I think Luna Lovegood came out in 2020, even though the box says 2019. And I think the Hermione from this line is even longer out on the market than Luna. And even though it is not the Hermione from the line, I think it's still interesting to see the differences between these two dolls. Without the clear plastic wrap around the Luna Lovegood box, the clear plastic part is coming off, but that doesn't matter to me. Since I had no plan leaving her inside of the box, she cost me 11 euros and the Hermione doll cost me 18 euros, which is, I guess, the retail price for the Hermione doll since it is a new doll, and Luna usually costs 25 euros, if I'm correct. So, I guess you can already say that the Hermione doll is stated as a budget line doll. I mean, I'm not quite sure if I can second that opinion based on what you get for your money, but that is absolutely up to you. And what should I say? I also bought this doll. But I also have to say that I was a bit disappointed when she arrived because from the promotion pictures, I thought she would not have this new, low quality, shiny, unsaturated resin printing that Mattel uses, I guess, more or less for each and every Playline doll nowadays. It makes me sad to see that, even though on camera I think it looks not too bad, but in person, the doll is very shiny, and I think it levels down the aesthetic and the very beautiful design of the face screening. But it can't be helped, it is what it is, and I think Hermione still has a very pretty face. Unpacking both was very simple, and here you have them with everything they came with. And for everyone who likes to keep the packaging or DIY stuff with it, here you do have the back cards of the packaging. Obviously, the one of Luna Lovegood is prettier and way more detailed. I really like the newspaper idea. And even though I'm not an inbox collector, I can understand when someone plays the doll on the shelf as it is. I think it looks quite nice. The new packaging for the new Hermione is way less detailed. You do have the names and emblems of the different houses, also from some animals and magic spells and so on, but overall the design is not really mesmerizing. It is there and I don't know. It does not have the same effect than the other back card. The clear plastic part is obviously also very different. For the Luna doll, you do have the actress, also the banner with the character name and Hogwarts emblem in the upper right corner. And also the bottom of the packaging is nicely designed with Harry Potter and golden 3D looking letters. So overall a very thoughtful design. And that is not really the case for the new Hermione doll. I mean, the packaging is still pretty, but it is very simple, and I don't know why, but the Mattel logo here is very striking because of its color in contrast to the packaging color. And even though this package here tells us it is meant for the 25th anniversary of the first film, it does not really show a lot of excitement, I think, but it is only the packaging, so it's not that important in my opinion. So, now to the first impression of the dolls. Both dolls do have the same height, also the heads are very similar in size. The screening for both heads is of course different since only the newer doll, the Hermione doll, does have the shiny resin printing. Luna is a little bit wonky. Her left eye sits a little bit closer towards her nose, but overall it is a very realistic face mold. So I can live with that, especially for the better deal, so it's okay. Since I don't have the Hermione from the line that also Luna was released for, I can only assume that it is the same face mold, but judging on pictures, I think they did use the same face mold again, only this time she looks way more grown up, mainly I guess because of the hairstyle. Both dolls do come with a wand, both are in the same quality range. The plastic is sturdy, not too wobbly, so no quality difference here, I think. Luna has two additional accessories, so this little cardboard piece. The design is very pretty. It resembles a book, so it is just a cardboard piece, but it is a nice little extra. Of course, you also get her famous glasses. They are very well made. Definitely not unbreakable, but sturdy enough to play with, I guess. And here we do have the clothing in detail. And there are quite some differences between these two sets. For Luna, first we do have these boots. They are well made, they are pretty, nothing wrong with them. The stockings do have this gathered part because it should look like there were socks or leg warmers over the leggings, but it is only printed on, and on the seams you can already see one little hole because the fabric is not really sturdy. It is also not heat sealed or anything like that. So overall, the material is stretchy. It is not the worst material, but it is quite a fragile piece. The dress is also quite elastic. It's made from a different fabric than the stockings or tights. But also here the fabric is not heat sealed. It is fraying out a little bit. But overall it is a pretty dress and the velcro is high quality velcro. At least that. And the printed on design is quite pretty, I think. The tweed jacket, of course, is not made from tweed. It is a rather stiff material, but it does not feel cheap. It is still soft and it does not really have a big texture. The collar is not hemmed. The buttons do not work, but they are really nice silvery in color. And also here the Velcro is very good quality, so overall it is a very nicely done piece. And for a playline doll, I would say with a lot of details. So now it's time for Hermione. Her shoes do not have any painted on details, but that's totally fine since it is simply a black shoe but with a lot of visible detailing. The gray socks are well made, they are soft. I mean, you can feel that it is not cotton, but it is cottony, it is a soft, slightly stretchy material. The skirt, well, it is a little bit of a bummer. You have just a black skirt. I mean, I think the overall look of this doll is the more grown up Hermione Granger. So it does make sense that she does not have the gray plaited skirt, but even the black skirt that she wears later on does have some plaited elements, and that's not the case for this skirt here. Overall, it is not a super bad material, it's not super papery, it's fine. I'm not a huge fan of the sweater though. It does have a very plasticky feel. It is still soft, but it does have a very plasticky touch. Not a big fan of it. Also, here I would have appreciated at least the extra color part they made for the earlier released Hermione. She even did not have a real necktie back then, but it looked a bit better with the standing off color in my opinion. Here you can directly see that everything is one piece. I mean, it's fine, the print looks good, but a bit more detailing would have been nice in my opinion. The last item is the cloak, and I guess it is more or less the same item as for earlier releases. This is a very noisy material. Also, I think it's not really papery. It is a thick material. It is also not an unpleasant touch, so overall it's fine. Also, the fabric of each and every piece here is heat sealed, so I appreciate that. The emblem is only a sticker. but a good one at least. It won't come off that easily, which is a big plus when it comes to child play, since I'm sure a lot of fans will buy the doll, play with it, and it is nice to have a doll with clothing that will survive most of the play sessions. Overall, I think the clothing for the new Hermione is not as detailed as the clothing of the previous line. For Playline, I think it is still well done, but I would have liked to see more detailing, especially according to the retail price when we now have a look on the dolls themselves. Since, as you can see here, the new Hermione has near to no articulation. She has only the 5 points of articulation, only her arms, legs, and head can be moved, and I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, in all honesty, it is not really important to me since I had absolutely no plan to leave the heads on those bodies. I simply do not really like the aesthetic of this body, but in general, most of the collectors and of course kids do not think about a body swap, and it is a bit disappointing to see the lack of mobility here. I mean, she cannot even sit up straight, which is a bummer, I think, in general. Her hair is saran hair. It is not the highest quality of saran, but it is a good quality fiber. Sometimes Mattel uses a bit thinner saran, especially when they intentionally curl the doll's hair. But here she doesn't really have curls. It's more like a messy wave. She does have a very serious box hair issue, but the rooting is good. She does have a lot of hair and it does have a very pretty color in my opinion. Sadly, there's no timestamp in the back of the head, it just says Mattel, so I can't be sure if it is really the old face mold or a slightly newer one, but overall, it stays and is a pretty face mold. Luna Lovegood's hair is a totally different story. This here is polypropylene, so definitely not a very desirable dull hair fiber. It's really hard to say, but it is at least not the worst case of polypropylene. It is not as examples that I had in hand so far, but it is simply not a very good hair fiber. It is also more or less impossible to do hairstyles with that kind of hair, even though the hair is quite long, so you could imagine to give her different hairstyles, but that is not really easy with that hair fiber. Obviously, she's way more posable than the newer Hermione doll, and in comparison to her, she also can sit up straight, which is simply not the case for the new doll. The torso is exactly the same for both dolls, same mold, same design, but the mold for the legs and the arms are a bit different. Of course, there is no articulation on the Hermione doll, but also the shape is a bit different. The legs and arms are now a bit thicker. It looks a bit less alienated to me because I think the body in general does not really go together with the very realistic faces. But hey, that's just me. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the body mold in combination with the realistic faces. I mean, even if those dolls resemble kids, I think the shoulders are simply way too narrow and the necks are too thin. I would say the feet of both dolls is completely the same model, same size, same tiny heel, so they can share shoes. But for my collection, they won't stay on their bodies, so it is time to give them new ones. First up is Hermione, and even though it looks like she does have a way tinier head than the Barbies that you can see here on the table, those Millie dolls do have a very big playline Barbie head, and the Hermione head is more in size of a collector's Barbie doll head. I think on the promo pictures Hermione looks quite dark in skin tone, but actually she is also quite pale because the mate move on the right side is the purple top mate move, which does have a very light skin tone. And it would be the perfect match for this head here. But I do know that this body is quite rare. I think it is exclusive to Amazon and the price is not very decent. So overall, I think you could also use this head with the recent standard Millie Yoga doll, which is new to me because she never was on sale or I have not seen her on sale. Now she was for 15 euros and I bought her because I wanted to know if the skin tone is a bit different to the former Melee Yoga Mater move, and it is a bit different. I mean, it is always quite a little bit different. But first, compared to Hermione, there is a visible difference. The body is darker than the head, but because of the brown hair and also the very natural brown face screening, I think the match would be doable. If you compare the Made to Move bodies by themselves, so the Purple Top Made to Move and the recent Yoga Made to Move Barbie, of course, Millie is darker, but the undertones do match, so for some heads, it still might be a decent and still quite fitting match since the Purple Made to Move is not so easy to get and its price is quite high most of the time. When you compare the new Yoga Made to Move Barbie with the older one, the older Millie is a little bit darker. Also, her undertone is a bit more red, so it is a warmer tone. I don't know if it is really visible on camera, but there is a slight difference, and sometimes even a slight difference can make a big difference when you hybrid it with a specific hat. So I do have some sorted out purple top made to move bodies because I gave some of my dolls some upgrades, to be honest, with other bodies that are not made by Mattel. But anyway, I still do like the made to move body. I'm not 100% in love with it anymore, but I still do like it, and I think it is the right choice for those two heads. And speaking of two heads, here is the other girl that will get a new body. Luna's skin color is lighter than Hermione's, and here you can also see on the right side the purple top made to move body, and on the left side you can see the made to move tennis player. Luna and the tennis player body do have the same skin tone. I think this is more or less a perfect match. The yoga purple top made to move body is simply too dark for the head, which is not a surprise since it is a good match for Hermione, and Luna and Hermione do not share the same skin color here, so Luna will get the tennis player made to move body. So it is time for hot water, a plastic bag, and a bit of tin foil so the heat of the water cannot cool down that fast. But in general, I do not use very hot boiling water. It is boiled water, so it is still very hot, but it is not near to be boiling hot anymore. If you do have a heating mat that gets hot enough to soften up the heads, I do recommend doing that. I don't have one, so I like to use this method here. And I also lifted up Luna's hands to remove them easier once the body is heated up. They are tiny, but I still would like to use them or try to use them on a normal, regular size made to move body. After 5 or 6 minutes, I try to remove the parts that I would like to remove, which is a very easy thing for the hands, but not so much for Luna's head. Her head is a very firm vinyl material, and I guess because of the raised hands, her head did not get enough heat, so she has to go back into the hot water, and it is time for Hermione now. The texture for Hermione's head is different. It is not the super squishy vinyl, but she is squishier than Luna, so removing the head is not big of an issue. And in case you have never removed a Mattel doll head, usually the neck pegs do have two hooks and this extension to keep the head in place. The extension is only there for preventing the head to be pushed on the neck. And you can leave it or remove it, that does not really matter. But the spiky hooks can hurt the vinyl, so when you plan to use a body for rebodying, no matter if it is the Made to Move or another Mattel body, I highly recommend removing the hooks because in my opinion, doll heads are forever and the bodies can be exchanged as often as you like, or as I like. I like to change bodies quite often, at least on some dolls. So Hermione is now fully grown up, and I think the head looks very good on this way taller body. It is definitely not too small in my opinion, and the overall aesthetic of the new hairstyle and face screening works perfectly with the standard sized body. And now it's time to give Luna also this kind of body. She still is a little bit stubborn. I mean, the water is maybe not as hot as it was in the beginning, and you can see that on the neck pack are already some visible stress marks since I'm pulling on the head. And if the body would be more important to me, I think I would heat up the head a bit more. I will not toss away the body, but I do not have any plan at the moment to use it for something. But you never know. So it is good that the neck pack is still in okay condition. And even though the head is not super warm or super squishy, it is not too hard to get her on the made to move neck. The inner structure of the Luna Lovegood head is different from the Hermione head, and you can see that when you compare the two necks with each other. Her head sits higher on top of the made to move neck, and so she does have a longer neck than Hermione does have. Is it a problem? I don't know. I think that the Luna head still looks good on this body, but she clearly does have a longer neck, and maybe that's a downer for some collectors, but actually I do like long necks, and I think it matches the aesthetic of the sculpt, so I'm fine with it. But I have to say, overall, the Hermione head does fit better on this standard made to move neck. You will later see the movement when everything is cooled down so that you do have the right impression how good the head movement is after the swap. But now let's have a look on the hands. This is a comparison with the original tennis player hands, since I use the tennis player body for my fashion doll clothing hauls, and I don't need the hands on those bodies since it is easier to try on clothes without hands. So you can see that the hands are way bigger. Also the backs of the made to move hands are bigger, but I think the joint itself is not so different. So I heated up my extra try-on body with its unmistakable birthmark. I don't know if I'm the only one with bad luck, but lately I got a few bodies that do have dark spots embedded in their plastic. Of course, the tinier hand cannot hold its place on the wrist on its own since the pack is very thin, so I just use a little bit putty to keep the hand in place, and overall, of course, the hand is tinier than the other one, but since it is a grabbing hand, I think it kinda works. Since we don't get new hands for our Barbie bodies, we only get slightly modified neck packs, which is awesome. So I think it is an option to use those hands on the standard made to move, even though they are definitely tinier. But the grabbing hand, especially this one, is one that I will use. The open hand is, of course, even tinier, or it looks tinier, since the fingers are spread out. I mean, the hand positioning is way prettier than the made to move shuffle hands. So I don't know, I might even use these on standard bodies. We will see, but I do have them, they look pretty. I will make something out of them. By the way, the open spreaded finger hand is nearly the same design as for the petite Barbie made to move. It is not exactly the same. You can see it on the thumb and the individual fingers. There is a tiny difference, but they are in fact very similar. I don't have a petite made to move in that skin color, but I do know that the pegs are still different. So if you would attach this hand to a made to move petite body, you would also have to use it with some kind of putty or whatever you like to attach parts or accessories temporarily. And as I said in the beginning of the video, I wanted to use the clothes for my licca-chan dolls, and the fitting is quite good. Especially the clothing for Hermione. I think the cloak is not too long. She also can hold the wand. The two pieces underneath are also a good fit. The skirt is not too loose and not too tight. Also the shoes are a great fit. So I would say 10 out of 10 here. When it comes to Luna, I do really like how the glasses fit on the licca-chan doll. It looks very cute in my opinion. The leggings are not a good fit. They are really long and also super baggy, especially around the knees. But that's okay since the leggings already do have a hole on the seam, so I guess I just can make them tighter. The only thing is that you cannot really wear the dress underneath the jacket alone since it is not really a good fit. The chest of Lika is way wider than the upper part of the Harry Potter dolls, and therefore the dress cannot be fully closed in the back. But the jacket does not have any problem with fitting, and therefore it is underneath the jacket if you would like to wear it as it is supposed to be. And so I think everything looks quite good together except for the leggings, and that can be changed. I mean, of course, the glasses do have way longer temples, so they do reach far beyond the ear of Lika, but I think that's not big of a deal. I think you can cover this with hair easily. Maybe the glasses are a little bit too narrow to wear them on top of the head, but when you wear them on the eyes directly, I think they are a great fit. Now again to the grown-up girls. Both of them got a good hair wash with moisturizing shampoo, nothing else, and a hot boy rinse. So Hermione's hair is way nicer now, it is softer. She lost most of the, I don't want to say curls, she never really had curls, but maybe the hair was a little bit more wavy. But it is saran hair, it is a little bit thinner, but it is saran, and if you want to, you can curl the hair. And this saran is not the thick one, so usually it will keep the curls if you do so. And obviously, the neck mobility with this head is great, absolute nothing wrong here. The head works perfectly together with this body. Luna's hair, as I said, is polypropylene. It is now a bit softer. Also, I was able to get it down a little bit. I left in this side elastic, so this is probably the best I can do. I mean, when you put effort into it, maybe you can lay down the hair a little bit more, but it is polypropylene, so don't expect miracles with it. The neck articulation is very good on this body. She also has a very firm vinyl, and the inner part of this head is a bit longer than the one of Hermione. So this girl here is a good candidate when you use it on, for example, a very stiff neck pack like the Mizzy ones. You will have a way better articulation with a head like this one here. But I think the head works really nicely on the standard Made to Move as well. And since they don't fit in their original clothes anymore, so they need new ones. And for today, I think I'm in the mood for some cozy winter styling, so both of them will get a winter coat, a simple dress for underneath, some stockings. You can barely see them, especially on Luna later on, but I like to add those, and they do prevent the feet from getting stained. And speaking of shoes, both will get Mini Brand's fashion boots and also matching handbags. Both will even get a scarf. And last but not least, a hat. And here they are, and I do really like how they turned out. I still wish Hermione would not have that very shiny face. Not each and every doll that does have this resin screening does have such a shiny face, but she definitely has a very shiny one. Her lips do have a very light pink color, so the unsaturated color is not that visible, so this is maybe a plus, but the skin is very shiny. I'm still happy with everything because it worked out as I wished it would work out, so I can wear the clothes on my licca-chan dolls, and I do have new faces for my collection. And I hope you got some information in this video that can help to decide if one of these dolls is something for you or just not, or maybe not for retail price. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and for taking your time. I hope to see you in one of my next videos. And of course, until then, I hope you still have a great time. Bye!